What's up, everybody?
What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's enjoying their Monday and having a super productive and successful first day of the week.
Weird day out. It's somehow sunny after raining most of the day. Just in time for everyone to get off work and enjoy some sun.
Yeah, we actually we have a pretty cool live stream today, so we're gonna be having Jeremy Ivany on. Jeremy is one of my clients, also one of our friends. Jeremy is a real estate investor out of the Chatham area. If you haven't followed his story, Jeremy is pretty inspirational. Him and his girlfriend Taylor, they have managed to amass a extremely large portfolio in such a short period of time. And we're gonna jump on here today and try to just explain some of the challenges he's had, some of the successes he's had, how we've gone about helping him scale his portfolio. And some of the products that we use to help them get there. We're just going to wait for a few more people to come on here, and we'll get it going. Hope everybody's doing well. Maverick, thanks for joining. Hungarian Experiment, you're our #1 fan. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. So, one of the challenges, we'll start like an introduction, I guess. So one of the challenges that most of our clients face is personal income requirements. So as a real estate investor or somebody who wants to take it decently seriously, there comes a time when people essentially want to scale their portfolio, but your income doesn't necessarily support either refinancing or purchasing additional property. And when you start getting into multifamilies or fourplexes, three triplexes that have significant value, it can be difficult to be able to qualify. So we were able to find some products out there that are great, and we help our clients scale their portfolio that way. We're gonna see if we can get Jeremy on here, guys. One sec. Oh, he's not.
They left.
Oh no.
Changed his mind real quick.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We're gonna try to get Jeremy on here. Oh, there he is. One sec. How long do you?
All right. Good.
There you go. Can you see me?
I can see you. Can you see me?
I sure can. There we go.
That's a huge win. I'm using our little house's Wi-Fi because our house is like 100 feet behind me, so it doesn't reach. So it's good.
Right on. Well, glad you can come on. We got a few people coming on here. UL, we got Kenny, Watch Properties. Right on. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for coming on. Yeah, so we did a little bit of an introduction, but we'll do it again. So essentially what we're doing is we're having our friend Jeremy come on here. Jeremy is a real estate investor. For all of you who don't know, Jeremy and his girlfriend Taylor started amassing properties about a few years ago, I think a year and a half ago.
Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years.
And that portfolio has steadily grown over the last 12 to 16 months. And, we wanted to get on here and talk about some of the challenges you might have had, what products we've used when you started, where you're at now, what you're looking for, and just, we can get into some maybe specifics about how to effectively scale a real estate portfolio when you start to hit certain milestones.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Jeremy Ivany. Obviously, me and my girlfriend started investing just about 2 years ago. And today we've got about $8 million of assets under our name. A lot of them are on our personal side, and then a few are on the joint venture side. So some of the joint venture side is some of the larger stuff. So we have 2 12-unit buildings with a joint venture partner, and then a couple other fourplexes with them. But yeah, we've really changed our mindset from when we started to where we are now. Like, I know when we first started, the big thing that Taylor and I thought about was there's going to be a time when we run out of money and we need to be able to find a solution to get over that hurdle because we want it to grow very quickly. So what we thought of was, hey, let's grow really aggressively at the beginning. That way people can see like, hey, look, these people know what they're doing. We want to partner with them. And it worked. But then we realized, hey, we actually don't want to partner with anyone and everyone. We want to have our own assets. Joint ventures can be great, but from experience, joint venture partnerships are really hard to manage, especially at like a large scale. So we wanted to start doing things more solo again, and then that's when I came upon you guys. we're able to find some creative solutions where we can continue to acquire assets under our personal name while not using, our full-time day job income, more or less using the actual property's income to qualify. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think a lot of people are quick to jump into the joint venture as soon as they have some issues personally qualifying. They're like, "Well, I'm going to joint venture. I'm going to get 6 guys. We're all going to put a bunch of money, 4 girls in there, and put some money together." And the biggest thing I think is just how that affects you moving forwards. It obviously has some limitations. It's everybody's money at this point. It's, multiple decisions need to be made. That equity does get shared out. That equity gets shared out. And it does start to, in my opinion, from what I've seen, it dwindles down really quick. And, you can really easily take a really good deal and kind of just water it down too much with too many hands in the pot. I'm not sure if that's what you noticed with your experience from JVs, or if you had some other things that, they just wasn't quite your cup of tea. But
one example in particular is one of the first properties I purchased off market was a 4-plex, and we bought it significantly undervalued. It was the first property I even found off market. We were able to get it under contract, and we've since then almost tripled the value of the 4-plex. And so my partner at the beginning, he put in $40,000 and was able to qualify for the property. And we've since then paid out well over $200,000 in profits from just continuing to refinance the property. And so now I'm looking back and thinking, I was a little bit scared at the time because I didn't want to borrow the capital, or I didn't want to reach out to other people like you guys to help me out to try and figure out how we can structure this properly. Instead, I just went in with the joint venture, and, now that's costing me, basically $100,000, right? For just not looking outside the box and asking these questions like, hey, how can we do this? Even today, I was on the phone with Josh. We're trying to figure out how to refinance my house. And it's not when you go to the bank, they say, no, we can't do this. But when you're working with a good mortgage broker, it's always, okay, we're going to figure out how we can do this, right? So really just getting yourself connected with really guys like you to help push you along is really important.
And obviously not all brokers are created equal. Some of the products and services that some brokers can offer or understand are a little bit, a little more complex and challenging and very niche in regards to what we're looking to do. But, there's always a solution, whether it's a private solution, whether it's a B solution, whether it's an A solution, commercial solution, there's always a solution. And that's kind of the name of the game here. And that's, I guess, how we started our relationship. Really came, I believe it was that property actually that we just spoke about. And then we were able to find solutions that kind of work for you. And one of the interesting things that both Aaron and I hear quite a bit is I want to quit my job. I want to quit my job. I want to be a full-time real estate investor. I got 2 properties, got $1,200 a month cash flow. I'm going to do it. Okay, we'll do it, but how are you going to do that? So assessing how that works and what options are available to you and what strategies are best for you to be able to do that is really important. The method that we use in regards to the commercial product, it works if you're having a cash flow on an asset. So for anybody who doesn't know, we try to utilize small commercial products to help our real estate investors with either a BRRRR or essentially what we will do is the revenue of the property and then benchmark expense rate, meaning we use a certain percentage of the total gross revenue, and we can qualify a loan based off the actual asset itself and not necessarily the client's personal income. And now that can be done for a single family home, duplex, a triplex, and a fourplex. So a lot of people kind of get stuck around the idea that it has to be a commercial property to be able to get something like that. That's not quite true. The only real thing is, it has to have a certain level of income generating the property. So whether that's you buy it privately and you BRRRR it out, you create the revenue, and then you move into that, there's always a solution to be made. It's just a matter of figuring out what it is, what's the best for you, and getting the best rate for your strategy.
Yeah, and
sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just going to say, jump in there quick. Even for those who are looking to quit their job, one important thing to remember is that if you are looking to get rid of your income, you are going to have some sort of capital reserves or liquid cash or strong enough cash flow coming in monthly, because the lender is going to want you to have some sort of capital reserves, because they do want to know that you can carry the mortgage if there are vacancies, even though that is calculated in the DSCR. do you have some capital coming in, and also some unforeseen expenses. They want to make sure that you do have some sort of capital saved or coming in monthly to build up that reserve. So you are doing a job and investor. Like talk to us first. Let's make sure we have some other things set aside, and you understand all what's going to have to go into it. Even though we aren't qualifying you personally, that cash flow per month still is an important factor.
Yeah, I guess like the first thing I want to say is like it's quite interesting being in this sort of like real estate community, because it's so crazy how many like 20, 30-year-olds are just thinking like, I'm just going to quit my job and just never work again, which is a reality for a lot of people. I mean, it's very quickly coming a reality for us, right? I mean, we've even thought about selling off everything and just private lending it. It's very doable. But obviously you want to make sure, you have a lot of capital. I do a lot of coaching. So a lot of the guys that I coach, it's, how can I quit my job in the first year? And what people don't understand is, even if you have $1,000 cash flow on a property, so $12,000 a year, you still have to understand there are capital expenses to be done. There are turnovers to be done. And I would say 95% of the capital that I've actually brought into my bank account has been through refinances and selling assets. And it's not just cash flow, because the cash flow easily gets eaten up when you're, purchasing properties under market value, going in there, renovating them, things like that. And it's something that a lot of people don't really look at, right? They say, okay, what are my expenses every month? And this is my cash flow. So people don't really look at that. But another thing too, even like working with creative guys like yourself, like I know even Josh, you helped me get into a fourplex where we were able to, since we were buying it so under market valued, we were able to go private for a couple months. Sure, we were paying a little bit more fees up front, but instead of putting, let's say, $70,000, $80,000 down on the property, we bought it with a private lender. And then a few months later, we brought it to Libro, one of the small commercial banks that we use. And we were able to get into it for, let's say even $20,000 versus that $70,000. So that in itself is, I mean, that's a game changer, right? There's another whole down payment that I was able to save versus buying it for what we purchased it for originally, and then just sticking with it for a few years and then refinancing it. So that's a big thing for investors, always being able to utilize that equity.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the private lenders it has to be like true private lenders, a mom and pop private lender, somebody who actually has the capital to do it. But if you're buying a property under value, we can get the appraisal, say $50,000, $60,000 above where it is, you can actually get a loan based off the appraised amount, not the purchase price. So you reduce your overall down payment. And that's what Jeremy's talking about, is it allows you to be able to reduce the amount of capital. And even if the total APR is a little bit higher but you're not in it for a full year, looking at a macro scale instead of a micro scale, and understanding that maybe the extra few $1,000s in fees is going to be worth not putting an extra $70,000 capital into this project if I have another project come and go.
Yeah, that's like Josh said. Thinking long term and thinking big picture, and it goes back to what you're saying about joint venture partnership as well. People look for 3, 4, 5 other individuals to pool us some money in. Maybe take a look at borrowing a prom note for try to work out a good interest rate, borrow that money, get in privately, even if you carry it for a year. When you get into that burb, you start refinancing out and you get that cash flow. Instead of giving away that money, you're gonna start to recoup a lot more of that and put that money back in your pocket. And now you're, instead of giving away down payments, now you're saving a lot more. You might be able to get into a property quicker. You might be able to get into a higher price point property quicker as well too. Just keeping that money in your pocket long term. Again, not really being scared off by the slightly higher interest rate and some of the fees. Like Josh said, if you can find it undervalued, we can cap that in by going off the loan to appraisal and not necessarily loan to purchase. Having that long term vision really can put more money back in your pocket quicker than what you would, avoiding going private, looking to go into a JV and kind of being in that short term mindset.
For sure. Yeah, I would pay 7-8% all day versus doing a joint venture. I'd even pay, sometimes if the deal's right, I'd pay 30%. Because really what a lot of people don't realize is, going to start off first is the joint venture partners that I've chosen to help grow my business. They've been phenomenal. But they still come with challenges, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's somebody using all of their money and you utilizing all of their money. So ultimately there are going to be issues that arise. Renovation costs $15,000 more than you thought, or the refinance value comes in lower than what you anticipated, right? These are all things that now, instead of you just saying as a sole owner, okay, next year I'm just going to refinance it again. Now you have to answer these questions. Why were we expecting 500, but it only came back at 450, right? Who pays for that?
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things where, if especially if as a real estate investor, the end goal is you want to retire because of your real estate, you don't want a lot of joint ventures because it's a business in itself. I know like on our personal side, we've got about 10 properties. On the joint venture side, we've got about 7. And the joint venture side takes up probably 80% of my time. And that's because I'm always trying to be constantly communicating with my partners, always making sure like that specific property is operating as best as it can, because I'm trying to look out for the joint venture partner. But if I'm trying to say, hey, look, I want to basically, step back from everything, I want to hire a property manager, can I do that? I don't know. It's kind of up in the air, right? Because ultimately you came on as the partner to manage it.
Yeah, it's interesting. The dynamic that comes with each individual JV partnership, and the agreement that you have to have in place before you actually go ahead and do that. We had a really good conversation with Sean Quigg, who was on here about a month ago, and we were talking about joint venture partnerships and how important it is. It's almost like a prenup. Like you don't do it because you don't like the person. You do it because just in case you guys are both protected. So it's really important to have that set. One of the things in regards to qualification that everybody should know is if you own a property with somebody else, you are wholly and fully responsible for the entire debt and only fractional piece of the income on the property. So if you and another person own it together, you have the debt service all debt. You only get 50% of the rental income that you can actually use. So that's something to keep in mind if you are JVing or are you on title with somebody else. Definitely keep that in mind because it can definitely stop you from scaling. If you are looking to get it done conventionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely times where, it makes sense, right? And I think when you get into like some of the larger multifamily space, like I bought two 12-plexes with a joint venture partner. And you're talking close to, $1 million in down payments. So now when you get into that sort of money, do I really want to borrow $1 million and really trust that I'm able to pay this capital back in the said time, right? So I think in that space, I become a little bit more comfortable taking on more joint venture partners. But when we're talking about borrowing $80,000 or $100,000 for a down payment, and we know what the asset's trading at because we can see, there's been 10 fourplexes that have traded in the last 30 days or whatever. We really know where that fair market value is at. I think it's a little bit easier. But obviously, some of the bigger buildings. We bought a 12-plex and we anticipated getting 6 out of 12 tenants out. We got 1 tenant out. So now if you're looking at, hey, I've got, $400,000 tied up in this building and I need to pay it back next year because that's when my mortgage is due and this is when the refinance is going to happen, what would that look like? Maybe I'm going to have to sell off now a couple duplexes or triplexes just to be able to pay that capital back. So I feel a little bit more comfortable there, but.
For sure. And, usually 99% of all the purchases are done with a corporation and, it kind of shelters your overall qualification anyways. JV partnerships, we see a lot of them with our multifamily, especially in a repositioning situation as well. If you're buying an underperforming asset and you need capital, a lot of people underestimate what cash for keys actually means. $10,000 per door might be a number that actually is a reality for you. You might have to pay somebody that amount of money to be able to get them out. It might be a mental block for you at the start, like $100,000 to get people out of the door, but raising that revenue is going to increase the value of your property significantly more than $100,000. But as you said, a lot of people get the JV partnerships to get the liquid capital to be able to do those things and reposition the property. We see a giant hole in the market right now in regards to repositioning those assets, and we've seen that obviously asset valuations have increased at such a significant amount over the last 12 months, and the revenue being generated from these assets hasn't increased at all because of the freeze in rent increase. So we do foresee that there are going to be a lot of people or investors who are purchasing these assets, and possibly that JV partnership is going to be what's going to be able to help people move on if you're not extremely liquid. But we are also working with a handful of lenders right now and creating a private solution to help people get in and out of these multifamilies decently quickly. It's
Yeah, the toughest part is that, you get in a hot market and everyone starts talking about birds and everyone starts, like real estate, not that it wasn't always a thing in terms of investing, but it's definitely become, like a fad right now and everyone's getting into it. Like you said, you got 20, 21, 22-year-olds who want to quit their job and become full-time investors. And, that's all due to social media and, stuff like this. They can come on, they can watch, they can, listen to guys like you who are able to increase their net worth. And, getting back to my point is, as these prices start getting up and people start seeing the market on fire and, hey, I want a couple extra $100,000 for my multi-unit, but, their rental income has been the same since like 1991. That income doesn't support, like, it's great that you think your building is worth more, but you're going to have a hell of a time trying to sell it when you don't have enough rental income in your property to support that. And now you're going to have guys come in who are looking for ways to get those tenants out, get that turnover out, and be able to reposition that property. The biggest thing you need to have under your belt is that process to get those tenants out. If you can't get that turnover and you're in a 1-year private product, and then at the end of that year, you don't have that increase, operating revenue, you're not refinancing back out into a conventional lender. You're going to be stuck refinancing back into hopefully a better private, but a private mortgage nonetheless, paying those fees again. So, in that situation, like you said, traditional, if you have a joint venture partner who can come on, help you with that cash, for those cash for keys, get those tenants over, increase that operating income, that's your solution to get out. You need that additional cash influx from a partner.
Yeah, what I'm seeing a lot more too is like you said, Aaron. Like it's a fad right now. Everyone wants to own real estate, and anybody that I talk to who isn't in real estate wants to get into real estate, but they think the pricing is too high. But what I'm seeing a lot more is a lot of new investors who, I know a handful of investors who they've started investing in the last 6 months, and they own upwards of $5-6 million worth of real estate in a very short period of time. And what a lot of people don't understand. And a lot of this is done through creative ways like vendor take-back mortgages. And I know I got pitched on a vendor take-back mortgage. It looked really good on paper a few weeks ago. And I said to the wholesaler trying to get rid of it, I said, well, how is somebody going to pay back this mortgage, this second mortgage that the previous owner's holding? And he says, what do you mean? It's a vendor take-back. And I said, I know, but there's a 6-month term on this that expires after 6 months. And it's a huge amount of money. I think it was $300,000 he was holding. And I said, so, sure, somebody can take this on. They can get into it with, little money down. But people have to understand you need to have an exit plan on everything you do. Because if you don't, you're going to get burned. And that's something where it was midway through our growth period where Taylor and I really sat down and we said, we have to be really strategic with what we're doing. When you get up, upwards of, $50 or $100,000 worth or $100 million worth of assets, it's a little bit different. But when you're around, the couple $1 million of real estate, you can get sunk very quickly. And I don't think people realize that because a lot of people are getting saved with the market. I think it's gonna be really interesting in the next couple months to see what happens. But I know for myself, Josh, you helped me refinance one of my properties recently in Wallaceburg. It was in a really small town just outside of Chatham. When we bought the property, we thought we would be lucky if it appraised for $200,000. It got appraised for $260,000 2 months after we bought it. And if it came back at $200,000, we would have lost probably, or we wouldn't have lost, but we would have had left in the deal like $30,000. Now, what saved us was the market skyrocketed in Chatham from basically January to now. But if it didn't, who's to say if I didn't have, let's say, a full private mortgage on that property, what am I going to do? Because the guy wants his money back and my asset's not appraising for what it's supposed to because I put in $30,000 more in the reno, right? And this is what people aren't thinking about because all we're seeing day in and day out is people winning, right? If you really try and look back in the last year, who do you know who's really lost in real estate? Nobody.
No.
Nobody has. We bought our house here for $350,000 a year and a half ago. A house 5 doors down, smaller than ours, just sold for $1 million. You can't make this stuff up. There's something's going on where people aren't really realizing that eventually prices are going to plateau, or maybe they're only going to slowly increase, right? But I mean, anytime you see your investors running their real estate numbers, right? We're focusing on like 5% appreciation. Whereas in the last 2 years, what have we seen? 30, 40, 50%?
Yeah, it's
These
wild.
aren't things that we think about. So
It's not sustainable either. Everybody's a genius in a bull market. So, we always speak to our clients, and when we talk about if in the process of when you had purchased this property to when you want to exit your PER, if the market stops, if you don't get that 30% appreciation, if the market does plateau or dip a little bit, are you going to be okay? So, creating that strategy, and a lot of the flips that we do as well, we buffer in, all those expenses, and we try to help people at least assess the total profitability on these properties, because the last thing you want to do is be holding the bag on a high leverage flip, paying $7,000 a month that you can't get out of it because the renovations you put into it aren't worth what it's worth now. So,
yeah.
I'm not calling the end of the market and the world's going to end here, but obviously this can't sustain forever. This isn't something that can just go vertical forever.
No, it's yeah. I mean, it's just something to think about. And everybody, I mean, realistically, looking back 2 years ago, I would have been a genius if I bought everything I saw. If I paid 20% interest on everything I bought, I would be, I'd be incredibly rich. But I mean, these aren't things that we can speculate on. These are only things that we can look back on and think that was a crazy point in life. And especially me as somebody, like, I've only been doing this for 2 years. Like, I've never went through a market that's decreased, right? All I've seen is increase. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very like open to the fact that I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make it work as I go. And I mean, even to put it into perspective, I was trying to buy 8 properties from a local investor in Chatham, and we couldn't agree on the pricing. I was like $500,000 lower than what he wanted for across his portfolio. He listed all of them, and the property manager that reached out to me, and these were at prices that I was going to list them at. The property manager reached out to me, and they've had 2 showings across all the properties. So really? It really just goes to show, like, we can't be greedy all the time, right? You hear even people now talking about, I'm not going to do a flip if it doesn't make me $100,000. I mean, this is crazy stuff.
It's wild. Yeah.
So
I think they call this point in the market mania. I think that's where we're at in the grand scheme of things. Let's talk about like small multifamily and larger multifamily. You've obviously in the last little bit moved your portfolio to looking at larger multifamily. Now there's obviously tons of advantages from the financing side of things, but walk us through, why you decided to move into larger real estate, how that's going, what your plans are, why.
Yeah, I guess early on, to be completely honest, like, I was a little bit cocky, thinking like, we really understand how to manage tenants. This is so easy. A tenant calls, you just fix things, you collect rent. It's really easy. And then what I started to realize was all of these duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes that we own, they're all, 50 to 100 years old, let's say, and they all take a lot of our time. So we thought, okay, we want to scale our portfolio in terms of dollar amount, in unit amount, but really this isn't sustainable unless we want to start hiring on, employee after employee to kind of keep up with things, because ultimately we like our assets to be managed, properly. And so getting into like some of the larger multifamily space, like some of these purpose-built buildings, that's where we saw, an opportunity for growth. And so, maybe, oftentimes too, especially in my market, like it's a secondary market, right? There's, a lot of these owners, they've had them for so long, they haven't really increased the rent. So there was a huge opportunity to buy them, still under market value, and really push the rents. And, really doesn't have to be early on, right? Because, we can hold them for 10 years, turn them over as they go, and they're going to cash flow just as well, but they're going to take a lot less of our time, because ultimately we want to put ourselves in a situation where we don't have to do a lot of work, and we can just kind of live our life. And that's really why we shifted to that space.
Yeah, we see a lot of investors kind of just make that progression. Once you have the capital, the issue with larger multifamily is obviously the capital needed to enter the market. The barrier to enter is quite large. The most commercial multifamily properties have at least a 25% down payment, and then obviously the property needs to be creating enough revenue to support the debt on the asset itself. So if you have a turnkey property that is operating at the level you need it to, the barrier to enter is quite high. So usually we see people who have created wealth through either flipping properties or created had capital appreciation over their portfolio, and then they take that capital and invest in the multifamilies. We find that once you start investing in larger multifamilies, it's a giant domino effect. So you buy one, it's like 2 people. It grows so fast because as soon as you realize that you no longer need to do renovations on a property to increase the value, so this is directly based off of how much revenue could this building generate. And once you kind of figure out a system on how to do that, the actual increase in value that you can make in such a short period of time is astronomical. And that's when you start getting into the larger buildings and moving into different primary markets. A lot of the larger multifamilies that our clients are purchasing right now are secondary markets. Chatham, Windsor, Sarnia, up north. And you're seeing obviously an explosion in value just due to even Chatham right now. It's unbelievable what happened with the multifamily space. But as you go and realize throughout your investing journey, multifamily is definitely like.
You can't go back. That's the thing. I mean, if I had it my way and I didn't have, if it was just me, if I was the sole owner of everything we own, I would be selling absolutely everything that isn't purpose built right now, and taking all of the money and just buying a couple 12 plexes. Because really, what it comes down to is there's just so much fuckery with these smaller buildings, and they're a lot of fun early on. But as you get going, I mean, when I had 15, 20 tenants, it wasn't that bad. But now we've got 60 tenants. I mean, every day somebody's texting me. This is why it took me a couple minutes longer to get on this live, was because I had 2 text messages from the time we jumped on when we were talking earlier to the live. I mean, there's always something going on. My window shaker isn't working. I mean, you buy these 12 plexes. I mean, all of our 12 plexes have their own AC for each unit, right? Like, I don't need to deal with this crap. And it becomes a lot easier to scale and a lot easier to manage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's something that people need to pay attention to too, because you have to keep some sort of capital reserve in your pocket for property management, because eventually you're going to get to the point where, like you said, you're managing 60 tenants and now you're back into spending all your time managing, and that free time and the autonomy that you were looking to build by investing in real estate, it's gone out the window because now you're managing every single one of your properties. And keeping that capital reserve and making sure that from the get-go, my plan down the road is to get to this many points, and I'm going to bring in a property manager to make sure that I get some of my time back. And then now I can shift. I've got to my 12 or 15 units, whatever your goal is. Hire a property manager, make sure it takes care of it, get that cash flow to the point where you have cash flow coming to your pocket and enough to pay someone to manage it. Now you can shift your focus and get back onto, now you scale to the multi-units. Now you go up to something like that. And I think those 1 to 4 units in those residentials, they're really there as the stepping stones. You learn how to manage, you learn how to, what to look for, what type of things to look for in a building, what's going to generate value, what isn't necessarily going to generate value. And then, being able to liquidate them. You either get your portfolio to a certain size that you can sell it or refinance enough and take out the equity to start to scale. And that's really what the purpose of those buildings are for. It's stepping stones to get to the larger multi.
Exactly. And that's what we've done, right, Josh? Our last purchase, where's the down payment coming from? Oh, I sold my duplex that cash flows $300 a month. And I'm going to take all of that equity. No, it did. It cash flowed $300 a month on average last year. I'm going to take all that equity. I'm going to throw it in to a 4-plex that cash flows with low rents $900 a month. And I'm going to hold it there because the $90,000 was locked up in the duplex. Why can't it be locked up in the 4-plex? And who's not to say next year that 4-plex is now worth $500,000, and we're going to take that $200,000 of equity and throw it into an 8-plex, or maybe we're going to sell a couple 4-plexes and throw it into a 12-plex, right? So yeah, it's always a stepping stone. And I mean, I always tell the guys that I try and teach every week is, you just got to start, because really what it comes down to is how much equity do you have, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're all not made of money. I've never made more than $50,000 on the T4 income, ever in my life. I'm 24 years old. I worked my ass off. I can tell you right now, the overtime still didn't cut it. It's really hard to make money working by the hour, but it's really easy to make a lot of money by buying assets and really putting the work in to increase the values of them. So yeah, it's always a stepping stone. I would have never thought I would buy a 12-plex, and I mean, who's to say we'll never buy like a 50-unit building, right? But it's always just you're slowly increasing as you go, and really just taking risks. I mean, there's a lot of properties that I've bought where I've said, hey, look, like things are getting stressful. I'm not sure if I'm going to get financing. Well, that's not the case now. I always know I'm going to get financing with you guys, but before, right, there was always properties we'd get under contract because it's like, I want this property. It's right near my other one. And, as you get going, you're like, if this seller came at me and said, we can back out if you want. I mean, my mind was always like, I would totally say yes right now because it's so stressful. But to actually take those, that little bit of risk or, put a little bit of pressure on you, it's all worth it in the end. So
you gotta have that pressure. Like if you don't have that pressure, there's nothing to push you to do better or to get out of your comfort zone, right? If everything is just comfortable, you're not going to go anywhere. So.
You're not growing. And even with our business, there's been a lot of
needed,
uncomfortable decisions that you have to make as an entrepreneur to be able to, reap rewards or achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So, if you are comfortable or you're feeling like, oh, this is a really easy decision, it's probably not a difficult decision. Like you should probably be making harder decisions. Don't make stupid decisions. Make harder decisions.
Or setting bigger goals that require more complex decisions. It's whatever, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? And the other thing too is I think it's really important to have a business partner. I think you guys complement each other really well. And for me, Taylor and I complement each other very well. I'm more of like, I have these huge goals and Taylor's like, okay, let's really break it down and figure this out. I don't know if you guys are either which one, but what we started doing this year, so from the time we started investing till December of 2020, we had purchased 10 properties. And from January of this year till up until now, we've gotten 18 properties under contract. A lot of them we've wholesaled, a lot of them we've just, purchased and flipped, but a few of them have been buy and holds. And the reason being was because we came up with a plan. We said, this is what our year goal looks like. This is where we want to be at. And let's really break it down step by step by step. And like, this is what our quarterly goal looks like now. This is what now our weekly goals look like. And now every week we meet together every Saturday and we figure out like, what are a few steps we need to take next week in order to, push us a little bit closer to that goal. And it's been huge. And I really think, just sitting down, actually having like a proper plan. I'm somebody who I don't like planning things. I hate planning things. I like looking at a property saying, I want to buy you. I don't know if I have the money. I don't know if I can like handle these renos, but I want to own you. And Taylor's, more like, let's really think about this and like make sure we can work it out. And that's good to have, right? Somebody who can, really put things in perspective a little bit better. But yeah, I think, just, working towards like actual goals versus just kind of just going with the flow and, hoping everything, falls into place.
Yeah, and just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks doesn't always. It's not the greatest business solution.
No, and it's difficult when you have such ambitious goals. A lot of the people that we deal with, or yourself, myself, Aaron, all the investors, we are all in this situation because we want more of life. Whether that is, monetary, whether that is freedom, retirement, you want wealth for your family, whatever that may be, we all have very ambitious goals. And that goal can be so overwhelming sometimes to hit. You can think, how am I ever going to hit that goal? Like, I have no idea. But actually taking those little steps and planning out, we call it moving the chains. So literally just like pulling the chain, an extra foot today, because eventually we're going to get to where we have to go. But it's not, some days are a lot more difficult pulling that chain than the rest of the days. But you have to make a conceded effort every single day to be able to push forward. And that's what's important to having a partner. A lot of the successful people that we dealt with they don't do it by themselves. There's not enough hours in the day to really be able to do all this by yourself.
And just having another point of view, you as a person is going to have one way that you're looking at things, and you're going to always have a bias to tend to look at the things that way. And that might mean you miss something, and having someone else who looks at it from a more conservative or from a different standpoint, is able to see that and point those things out where you might be tunnel vision on, I want this. Look at this thing. This thing's gorgeous. I want this property. Oh.
Yeah, I think even too, just having like a positive outlook on what's going on. And I think that's where a lot of people really get discouraged is things aren't going right. I should stop what I'm doing. And oftentimes it's instead of stop what I'm doing, it's push through what I'm going through, right? Because if you can get through that barrier, I mean, I remember like the first time I borrowed private money to buy a deal. It was scary. I was like, this is something I've never done before. What if I can't pay them back? But then I broke it down. I said, like these are the things, this is everything that needs to go wrong in order for me to not be able to pay them back. And these are all the realistic things that are going to happen, and I'm going to be able to pay them back. And just really just shifting your mindset that way, because it's really what holds a lot of people back. Look at everybody who doesn't invest in real estate. Why don't they invest in real estate? The market's too expensive. I can't afford it. I'm not going to win in these bidding wars. And this is the case for a lot of people, right? They have these doubts, and then they just sit back and watch everybody else take the rewards.
Agree. You can't have any reward without taking the risk.
Exactly.
Last but not least, man, like what's the plan next? What are you guys doing? You wanna give a little tidbit?
Yeah. So I guess since we're not talking to any of our lenders right now, so our big goal for next year, and something ultimately, as soon as we refinance this house, Taylor's not going to have a job anymore. That's a really big goal. And then beyond that, we want to travel. We really want to take what we've done and utilize it for something we've always wanted to do. So now we've created all this equity, maybe sell off a property or two, and really just enjoy what's going on, outside of London or Ontario. Like, get the heck out of here and really enjoy the world. So we want to travel for the next couple of years, but we also want to try and grow our business while being, not at home base. So, and then, I mean, aside from that, I'd really like to hit 100 units this year. That's one of our big goals, is to hit 100 units this year. I always had, I remember seeing Christy and Brady McDonald, and it was like one of the first seminars I went to, and they had bought like 100 units in 4 years, and I always said like that is really cool. Like, that's something very like that I'd like to be able to achieve. So that's where my mind's at. Like, and really trying to sell off some of our smaller properties to kind of get into that space. I'd like to do a few solos as well. But yeah, I mean, really just having more of like a lifestyle approach versus just this constant grind in, grind out. I mean, I don't work like you guys. However many hours you guys work. What do you guys work? 23 and a half hours a day, or?
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty close.
Well, I work like 10, and it's a lot. Like, I don't like it. I used to work, 13, 14 hours a day, and I didn't like it. And I don't even like really working as much as I'm working now. I want to enjoy this world. And I've really taken a like to coaching. I've helped a couple of my students between the three guys that I coach, they've bought in 12 properties this year. So that's exciting. I like seeing other people grow, especially with all like the wholesaling I'm doing. I mean, throwing them these good properties and really just watching what they do to them, and watching them grow, things like that. Like, that's really what I'm getting into now as well.
For sure, yeah. I've actually dealt with some. So big shout out to UL. Actually, he actually just listed his flip on the market. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looked really good, really good. Yeah, I'm anxious to see how he grows. I mean, he's bought in 8 units this year. That's incredible. I mean, he started January of 2021, and he's now at 8 units. I mean, not a lot. That's a huge feat, and it's always something I'm trying to tell these guys, right? Like, look at where you've come from, because even owning a primary residence is something to be proud of. But even owning, 2 or 3 properties, we kind of, as investors, we get a little bit cocky. Like, I only have 10 properties, or I only have 12 properties. But if you really sit back and think about what you're saying, that's crazy. That is crazy. And so just enjoying the journey.
That's it, man. Enjoy the journey. Surround yourself with people that matter to you. Do good business, help good people, and it'll all work out.
Man, even when we look like when we went golfing, right? Like I was admiring you guys because it's like you guys have all probably made like freaking $20,000 just golfing. Like this is cool being around guys like you, right? Versus being around the crowd where it's like, oh, this round of golf costed me $40. This sucks, right?
Mm,
Having that like that mindset, like hey, we're all out here having fun, but we're still we're still grinding day in day out. I love that stuff.
Yeah, an abundance mindset is something that we try to take through all aspects of our life. I was very blessed to have my mentor tell me that at a very young age. That's you can't worry, you can't grow wealth, and you can't like what I'm trying to say. You can't exude wealth. Like you can't push wealth out. People can't understand it if you're always consistently worried about the next bill or the next thing. And it's kind of hard to grasp because you want to create a need, but that need can't be living outside your means. But you need to always be working towards that thing. So, create the life you want to live, and it'll show up. It's funny how it happens.
Exactly, man. Yeah, just take risks. Just take risks if you believe in yourself. That's
yeah.
huge, man. Like when I quit my job, when we had like it was so stupid. It was if you wrote it down on a piece of paper, it was the stupidest thing ever, man. We just bought this house, we had a big mortgage, we had 5 properties. I was so fed up with my job. I was like, I'm going to work. I'm like while I'm at work, I'm thinking, how can I make my employer more money? And I'm thinking to myself, man, this is nuts. I'm working like 50 hours a week. I'm making $900 a week. This is bullshit. And I just quit my job. I got laid off for a week, and then my boss called me back. I said, I'm not coming back. Then I came home, and I told Taylor, I said, I think I should quit my job. She didn't even know that I told him that I quit. And I said, I think I got to quit. I think I can make this work. I believe in myself. And it was, like, you're looking at realistic things like how are we going to pay the bills? Taylor had a part-time job, man. It was nuts of me. She was making like $400 a week. And I said, no, I think I can make this work. And, looking back now, I mean, we've bought in like 15 buy and holds since then in like the last year. And that's because I took that risk and I said, hey, if I can spend instead of 8 hours a week on this stuff and spend like 60 hours a week, where can we actually grow from this? Same with you guys, right? You guys used to work for somebody else as a mortgage broker.
Yeah.
Giving away, what were you guys giving away on a commission? 30, 40%?
Yeah, so our previous broker, you had 20%, but before that, I was working as a sales guy making $50,000 a year. There's no room for growth. I was just hustling, trying to make money for somebody else, and
Yeah.
as you said, I got fed up, man. I knew there was more out there, but it's never opportune. I had no money. I had no idea how to get no mortgages. It was 100% commission based. How am I going to pay the bills? I had a roof over my head. I had bills I had to pay, student loans.
Yeah,
And
man.
the most terrifying decisions you'll ever make always come down to, do you believe in yourself? And if you
That's
do,
it. That's totally it, man.
go for it. 100%.
Totally
Shoot
it.
for the moon, because at the end of the day, it will always work out if you bet on yourself.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is, man. I tell people this all the time. It's you got to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to, right? Most people, majority of people, like 99.9% of people would like to see you fail. And not because they actually want to see you fail, but because they're jealous of what you're doing, or they want to be doing, what you're doing, right? So ultimately they just want, and this is just a natural human instinct. And so it's only yourself who can really, push yourself forward. Or if you have that business partner, or, you have that spouse who's really pushing you forward. And that's what Taylor's really good for, man, is like just pushing myself and herself like through all of these hurdles. Because like I said, man, we started with like $70,000, and we've, like I didn't start with a couple $1,000,000 to, grow this portfolio. It was all, just baby steps, step after step after step, just moving that needle day in, day out. And it just, eventually it leads to somewhere that you're happy to be at.
I love it.
Yeah.
Vice versa, man. You just gotta keep pushing forward. It's not gonna always be easy. It's not always gonna be, comfortable, but keep pushing forward, and it'll all work out. And work with mortgage brokers who can get you financing.
That's it, guys. That's it. That's the key. That is the key, because ultimately, what's the saying? You need money, people, deal. You need like mortgage broker, off-market deals, and a property manager. That's the true triangle. and the mortgage broker is like the most important part. So if you can't get the mortgage, the rest of the shit doesn't matter.
Completely agree. I mean, guys, we're just gonna wrap up here, but there's always a solution, and Aaron and I have built a business around finding solutions for people, whether that is you are employed, or you're self-employed, you don't show any money on your T1 generals, you're buying a really underperforming asset. There's always a solution to get into it and work to the next step. So, if you guys are interested, feel free to reach out to either myself or Aaron. I'm always happy to help. And Jeremy, always happy to have you on. For anybody who is watching right now, we are going to be on actually again on Wednesday on Jeremy's channel. We're going to be chatting about scaling and using different products to help you get to where you got to go.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, guys, take care. Have a great night.
Cheers.